Today's video is sponsored by Grim Hollow, the Player's Guide. If you're tired of traipsing across fantasy Europe and slaying the same old creatures and doing the same old quests, maybe it's time to delve into Grim Hollow and explore Atharis, a 5e supplement designed to throw you into a grim dark fantasy world full of horrors and sinister characters. But the setting isn't the only new and amazing thing Grim Hollow brings to the table. The Player's Guide contains new subclasses for each class within 5th edition. Each is unique to Atharis and has a dark fantasy twist. Play as a blood magic fueled sangromancer or try out the two new unique transformations, the Primordial and the Fae. For our evil players at heart, why not play as Lich? New classes need new items. Discover a treasure trove of new unique items, and some that are specifically designed to enhance transformations. This is the next setting that your players should be exploring. Grim Hollow is available now at the link in the description below. Now what you're here for. How our bard made us his troupe to save us from agonizing death. Hi everyone, All Things D&D is back with another story. A bard that contributes to the group and isn't a creepy harassment-filled parasite? Say no more. Listen to this awesome story about a true bard and his troupe of actors that barely pull off an incredible feat of improv. Be me, playing the good old rogue in Pathfinder 1st edition. Be not me, the bard, attorney summoner with Devil Eidolon, unpredictable inquisitor, newbie first time playing TTRPG, drunk magus, eldritch archer, and DM NPC magus, spell dancer. Emphasis put on the bard, for there may be many bards, but this one is one of a kind. It's our party's very first campaign in this setting and system, homebrewed by our DM who's a veteran of it. All of our characters are on level 4. We are deep in the dungeon, a mix of a stronghold, a prison, and a temple. We are mostly out of spell slots. Half of the party is low on HP. On top of that, the bard is almost out of cards. Wait, wrong game. The bard is almost out of bardic performances. Suddenly, halfway through our session, few of our characters hear distant shrieks. Most of the party insist on pressing on to save 2 NPCs, who we hear screaming in pain. We reach the lair of the dungeon's BBEG. It is a drider, surrounded by 8 giant spiders. Uh-oh. He welcomes us like a lord welcomes guests to his humble abode, but more as soon-to-be food for his children. Panic. In this darkest hour, our the bard decides to go out on a limb. Some context why our bard is the bard. He has a homebrewed set of magic items for winning a battle royale on session 0 that was meant to show us the basics of the system. This set consists of a pair of magical cat ears and cat tail merged with his body, turning him into a half-elf cat boy. Surprisingly enough, it's more adorable than usually annoyingly weeb stuff. Said set of items increases his dex and charisma by quite a bit, but at the same time, for reasons unknown, he is magically forbidden to speak. No one in the party knows how exactly all of the above works. Back to the story. The bard takes a few steps ahead, looking straight into the drider's eyes, as friendly and politely as he can. Then our mute bard wants to roll on diplomacy to convince the BBEG, using only his music and body language, that he is indeed a traveling troubadour, greeting the almighty lord of this dungeon and being honored by standing in BBEG's presence. Time stops, then the DM says the immortal quote. I'll allow it. Bard rolls 35, and then proceeds to play a music suitable for a royal court, as the BBEG keeps shortening the distance between himself and our party. Glorious success! It turns out this performance landed a critical hit on BBEG's ego. The DM narrates. You begin to play a beautiful and regal melody. The drider stops and listens. He smiles and says,
Ah, you have a taste for art. I will keep you as my troubadour while the blood of others feeds my children.
The bard immediately starts to gesticulate that the rest of us is, in fact, his bardic troupe, and he needs us definitely more alive than dead. Me, the rogue, backs him up. He tries to say he needs us. The drider.
Ah, so you are speaking for him?
Again, me, the rogue, understanding the bard roughly 60% of the time. Yes. The drider.
Fine then, so you may be worthy of mercy. But what of the others?
DM NPC, a female elf, and to this point the most ballsy character, currently all pale as chalk from fear, decides to step up. I am a dancer! The bard also gesticulates and hums, convincing BBEG that she's also a singer. Super important NPC for the party for reasons to talk about another time, so she can have double the chances to stay alive. The eldritch archer with -2 to charisma and sickened debuff on top of that, permanently drunk as a skunk. This lad failed 4 tries to get sober, one being divine intervention from saving God's shrines from a mini-boss, and another being looking death straight into his eyes.
I am a jester.
The Inquisitor explains he's a stage prop guy. The Summoner is crouching silent and still.
Most curious,
BBEG comments in regards to all of that, then reaches towards the Bard, proceeds to pet him with a hand bigger than the half-elf's head. I kid you not, none of your girlfriends could ever roleplay a fawning cat-like person as good as his player. As a wise man once said, sometimes it takes a real man to become the best girl. Meanwhile, one of the spiders starts to sniff at the Eldritch Archer. The Drider comments that he smells unusual. Has to do with Archer's race, Sylph. The Eldritch Archer, quite surprised, answers, "You have a shared sense of smell?" The Drider is very displeased by this outburst. The Bard hisses shortly and immediately, knowing that the charade we've built up to this point is on the verge of crumbling to pieces. Reacting to that, I slap the Archer in the face to put his subordinate in place. The DM, okay, roll on how strong you slapped him. Roll max damage. The Inquisitor is forcing the Archer to bow down by grabbing him by the neck. Surprisingly, the Archer succeeds on a reflex saving throw to not fall flat like a true clown. The Drider calms down, amused and satisfied that the Bard knows the regal etiquette. Another spider sniffs on the Summoner. The Drider,
"Oh, you smell familiar. It's been a long time since I've felt this unforgettable pretty scent. Where do you come from?"
The Summoner, playing scared for most of the session, suddenly bursts out with all kind of regal and polite speech, talking vividly about his backstory in the country. Japanese-like one. Oddly enough, he and the Bard have nothing in common. Everyone at the table is impressed. For most of the session, the Summoner wasn't performing that much. Even the Drider is impressed and regards those regions fondly, as well as the companionship of the Summoner. After a few moments of purring and fawning, the petting ends, and the Drider pulls his hand back. The Bard then points to the two men we came here to save, currently still tied by the spider's web, and gestures the request to BBEG to give them back. The Drider asks the Bard what they are needed for. The Bard's player, for a lack of more concrete idea, tries to pantomime many various important-sounding reasons all at once. One deception check later, the Drider agrees. The Drider then asks,
"So, what will you perform for me in return?"
"All right, folks," the Bard's player says. "It's now or never, so stick with me." We're in the endgame now, setting actors on the stage. The Bard starts playing music in Japanese style, setting up a tone for the upcoming play. The DM NPC, along with her two mirror images, starts dancing to the melody. The Summoner casts disguised self on himself to look like the samurai, a protagonist of the story. I cover my face with a scarf to appear as a bandit, playing the antagonist of the play. The Inquisitor and the Eldritch Archer, having the lowest charisma in the party, are asked to take care of the wounded and be like potato beetles. Keep quiet, stay out of trouble, and eat cucumbers. We had no potatoes. Role-playing squared. Basically, we need to go deeper. Bear in mind, all of this, and all of to come, is a completely unprepared improvisation. Everyone is losing their minds on how both awesome and crazy this all is. The Summoner's Devil, or dare I say Advocate's Devil, in his sexy, deep bass voice, proceeds to narrate the play.
"This is the story of a brave samurai, Yakuta Karaki, who was stripped of his status and forced into the life of a ronin, traveling to regain his honor. His quest has led him to a burning tower, but on every step of his journey he is tormented by his lethal enemy Zingu. Was it revenge that brought Zingu to devote his life to fighting Yakuta Kakar? Was it revenge that brought Zingu to devote his life to fighting Yakuta Karaki? Was it stolen love? Something else? We will never know, but they faced each other one last time upon the burning tower. This day, bloodshed was all but unavoidable."
The Summoner. "Ha! Zingu! I finally found you! Today your life of crime will come to an end!" The Rogue. "Ha! Naive Ronin. You think you're always in advantage, but your recklessness has led you straight into my trap. There will be no honor in your death, only shame and void." Meanwhile, the Bard comes up with what kind of dynamic music he plays in every act, and DM plays DM NPC to come up with choreography. DM. "Okay, all, roll for your performances. 2 skills, please." Everyone rolls over 20 on their checks so far. Then I rolled a nat 1 on performance. Then the DM NPC rolls nat 1 on performance. Everyone agrees that's a certified bruh moment. DM excited to the limit about how this session is unfolding. Yeah, screw that. Here's inspiration. We rolled again and succeeded in our checks. Hell yeah, we're back in the game, baby. Meanwhile, the Inquisitor and Drunk Magus ask to identify BBEG stats. They succeed, but the test was hard, so DM tells them they can ask for one aspect each. Magus asks for BBEG's level, Inquisitor for his buffs. DM tells BBEG's level is 12, then proceeds to list buffs he has on him. Basically, a lot. Everyone realizes how screwed we are if we mess up. Tension's as high as a junkie. On the side, I'm starting to roll a new character and say farewell to my rogue just in case. Back to the play. Summon Devil, still in deep base.
And so the battle began. But with each dealt blow, it was more clear that Singer was in advantage. All hope seemed to be lost when he dealt a swift and unexpected blow into the chest of Yakuta Karaki.
I ask the DM, look, I know this is not how that trait works, but can I take advantage of the fact that I have a careful stabber and stab him in a harmless way? The DM having way too much fun to hold us back at this point. I'll allow it. Roll attack. Happy rogue noises. I step on the foot of the summoner. Ha! This shoe was poisoned. Shoes have a longer story in our campaign than I am willing to admit. Then I proceeded to roleplay an unexpected attack, using the fact that both summoner and his player are shocked by this plot twist, along with everyone at the table to be precise. Proceeds to roll attack. Proceeds to hit. Proceeds to roll max damage. Actually not that much, but for the rule of cool, a lot of blood comes from summoner. High-pressured stream, in a true samurai movie fashion. Akira Kurosawa would be proud. Wait, this stab was supposed to be harmless. Who cares? The show must go on. The summoner. You sure have a lot of tricks, Zingu, but you're not the only one! The summoner faints, tearing his cape, while casting another disguised self, pretending to be Kitsune race. This is the best anime of 2022. The summoner casts Will-O-Wisp on his sword for extra drama and show. He then attacks the rogue, that is to say me, but misses on the roll. In the play, however, he misses, yet confidently and carefully hides his blade in the sheath. I dodge backwards. Ha! But seconds later I drop my sword, then reach to the invisible but lethal wound. Impossible! I sputter, falling to my knees. Not like this! Falls on face. The summoner falls shortly after his victorious monologue. The summoned devil still in deep base.
And so upon the burning tower, two lethal enemies have ended their struggle. Their blades remain there, impaled into the ground, as a silent memento of this day. If there is another life, would they wish to meet again and clash their swords one more time?
DM exhilarated, clapping to all of us. Okay, folks, everyone roll on performance. Everyone collectively passes. The Drider clapping.
Wonderful, truly majestic. From now on, you will stay by my side, telling me stories from a faraway world.
The NPCs we asked for, that were healed by Inquisitor and Eldritch Archer this whole time, tells us that the Drider will never set us free, proceeds to sacrifice themselves to let us escape. The party proceeds to run for our lives. The Bard bows down before the Drider, like a true artist after a performance, before running for his life. We had survived the unbeatable encounter that was supposed to teach us that not every fight will be winnable, and then we had a section with running away from the Drider after an improv theatrical performance. We agreed that this was the best session ever. A completely improv Japanese drama. You love to see stories where the Bard isn't a horny goon, and actually does what they're supposed to do. Bravo! Please let us know what you think and comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, All Things D&D. Our videos are posted every 5 days, so stay tuned for more amazing Dungeons & Dragons content.